news and bad news for John McCain today. While he seems to have lost the support of a respected Republican senator and Vietnam vet, it turns out one of his biggest endorsers knows the will of God. So he's got that going for him, which is nice. And indeed, such a skill could be handy were it not for our third story tonight. The fact that this God, says the endorser, sent Hitler to kill the Jews to force them to move to Israel. That's apparently one of the lesser-known planks in the McCain platform. But first, the other senator I mentioned. Last night, Nebraska Republican Senator Chuck Hagel reportedly told a private gathering organized by a non-proliferation group that not only that Barack Obama is right about engaging with America's enemies, but that John McCain is wrong. Hagel declined to address speculation about serving in an Obama cabinet, but did say, quote, "I can't get into the psychoanalysis of it, but I believe that John is smarter than some of the things he is saying. Perhaps, but is he smarter than things that have been said by the influential pastor whose endorsement he sought and refuses to renounce to this day?" McCain has already distanced himself slightly from Pastor John Hagee's label for the Catholic Church, quote, "the great whore." Now an online journalist has found audio from a Christian website of a sermon dated 2006 in which Hagee says that the Bible's book of Jeremiah quotes God talking about sending Hitler to force the Jews to Israel.
"Behold, I will send for many fishers, and after will I send for many hunters, and they, the hunters, shall hunt them," that will be the Jews, "from every mountain and from every hill and from out of the holes of the rocks." If that doesn't describe what Hitler did in the Holocaust, you can't see that. And that will be offensive to some people. Well, dear heart, be offended.
Let's turn now to the Washington correspondent for the New Yorker magazine, Ryan Lizza. Thanks for your time tonight, sir.
Hey, Keith, thanks for having me.
We'll get to Hagel, but first to Hagee. These comments are actually not that shocking if you are familiar with the God causes everything because we haven't persecuted this or that group and the we'll need Israel during the apocalypse thinking of some of these guys, if thinking is the right word for it. But does that not imply that McCain essentially sought out Hagee not without knowing this, but despite knowing that Pastor Hagee and as people see Israel and Jewish people as sort of biblical collateral damage?
Well, I don't know if McCain knew about these comments or not, but Hagee's remark there that some people will be offended by these comments is the understatement of the year, certainly. Look, arguably, McCain seeking out an endorsement from Hagee is worse in some ways than Obama's relationship with Wright. I mean, Wright was a guy who was the pastor of the church that Obama belonged to. McCain actually sought this guy's endorsement and up until this point hasn't repudiated him. Now, look, what we've just learned about Hagee and what he said is so beyond the pale that it seems inconceivable to me that McCain can continue to have any further relationship with this guy and continue to sort of have his active endorsement in any way. I'd be shocked if he didn't denounce him after this.
Yeah, and yet when the stuff about New Orleans took place, the revelations about his comments that Katrina was a direct message from God to punish New Orleans for staging or planning to stage a gay pride parade, what he backed off from, he backed off in such a way that he left literally using the phrase, I'm repudiating every anti-everything thing that he had said. It made no sense whatsoever. He still did not renounce the endorsement. Why is there an assumption that he's going to act on this?
Right. Right. And look, he's got a second shot at this right now. And in a strange way, Keith, maybe this is a blessing in disguise for McCain, because this guy, Hagee's not going away. The Democrats are going to make this, continue to make this an issue, and rightfully so. And just as, Obama sort of had one shot with his speech with Wright, where he didn't quite denounce the guy, but gave him a second shot, and then Wright did his famous press conference in Washington. That gave Obama a chance to sort of have a clean break. And I would be surprised if if McCain didn't do that here. I mean, on a scale of on the offensive scale of 1 to 10, claiming that God sent Hitler to hunt down the Jews and force them to Israel is about a 20. A politician running for president can't be associated with someone who says something like that.
One would think. We have been surprised more than once by Republicans in the last 7 or 8 years in what they're willing to tolerate from people that are around them. Let's get back to this planet, though, and Chuck Hagel, who has not only endorsed but is campaigning for Obama. What effect would that have, and what is about Hagel's What is it about Hagel's biography that would prove so valuable to Obama, particularly his biography?
Well, yeah, Hagel's an interesting guy. I mean, he has become increasingly alienated from the Republican Party over the war in Iraq. I mean, on everything else, except foreign policy, he's a very traditional conservative. But he's increasingly become more and more skeptical of the wisdom of the war, and he flirted in the recent past with the unity ticket and sort of talking. He was talked up as perhaps being an independent candidate. That has sort of fallen by the wayside, and I think he may be sending a message to the Obama camp that, hey, if you guys are serious about this post-partisan era, take a look at me. Consider me as perhaps, if not a VP material, maybe a cabinet member. I think one of the interesting things about Hagel is he's a Vietnam vet, and one of the reasons he soured on the war in Iraq is he revisited the Vietnam War, and he realized that he was lied to during that period.
Right.
And he didn't know it at the time, and that made him think the current war.
Well, we'll see if that hypothetical endorsement that I just referred to might actually come to pass. Ryan Lizza, the Washington correspondent for The New Yorker. We'll keep following Mr. McCain, especially those Hagee Holocaust remarks. We'll see if your prediction comes true. Many thanks, sir.
Thanks, Keith.
From Clarence Darrow to Bobby Darin to Al Gore's main man in the 2000 Florida recount, Kevin Spacey, producer and star of the HBO movie Recount, joins me here. And then NBC News is bad because one of its newscasters used to be a sportscaster. So say two guys who then explain their worldview by quoting comic books. Worst person's ahead on Countdown.
If this were a dictatorship, it'd be a heck of a lot easier. Just so long as I'm the dictator.